Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jurex and this is Saladin and the Third Crusade, Siege of Jerusalem, Extra Issue Part 2 by the channel Extra Credits. Yes, in first part we saw how there was a succession crisis for the becoming king of Jerusalem because the previous king died. So one heir was a woman basically, married one of the princes who were fighting with each other and made him the king of Jerusalem basically. But obviously there's still bitterness there. So I think this is kind of similar to First Crusade in a way. There is infighting between these Christian princes. And I guess in this Third Crusade right now, it's the Muslims who's trying to take over Jerusalem as far as I can see, because there's already a Christian king of Jerusalem at that point. So I guess we are going to see how Saladin takes over Jerusalem, right? Because maybe he'll do. I don't know. We'll see if he takes Jerusalem or not. So people said in the comments this was more of a draw than an actual victory. So yeah, maybe Saladin so far feels really overpowered, right? Because he's ruling over one type of empire. He made sure there are alliances in his Muslim countries, and they agreed. So he would take over all this holy land basically, Jerusalem. Apparently Jerusalem is holy land for Muslims. Somebody told me, like, in First Crusade I was surprised. Like, why do Muslims care about Jerusalem? Isn't that Christian thing? But no, wait a minute, it's a holy city in Islam too. So yeah, let's watch this one. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the Brick Sunday, there's a link in the description with all of my videos. Check out the cast of place in cards, and yeah, let's watch it.
The Horns of Hattin, July 4th, 1187. The battle is over. Bodies lie across the slopes, dismembered and baking in the sun. There are thousands of captives. But Saladin has asked for two of them by name, Guy de Lusignan, king of Jerusalem, and Reynold of Chatillon. When they come, Saladin's...
Oh yeah, in the previous battle, when he defeated them, obviously all princes and kings were there, so now they are his prisoner? So what, war is over?
Palatial tent is still being set up. Saladin then offers Guy a glass of iced julep, and the king, dying of thirst, sucks it down. It's a relief in more ways than one. He knows that in Muslim culture, to offer someone sustenance is a promise they will not be harmed. Guy then hands the cup to Reynold, but Saladin interrupts. He had given the cup to Guy.
You're gonna die.
The Sultan stands, berating Reynold for his blasphemy and treachery, for breaking the peace between Saladin and the Crusader states by attacking pilgrim caravans, for blaspheming God and torturing Muslims. He then gives Reynold a choice, convert or die. Reynold refuses, and with one stroke, Saladin strikes off his head. And upon seeing how the king now shakes, the Sultan leans in and assures Guy no harm will come to him. Kings, he says, do not kill kings.
That is so heavy. First of all, the king was dying of thirst, obviously, because he didn't thought about that. Like, okay, we are going to this desert area. Holy shit, we might require supply of chain of supply and things like that to make sure that we don't die of hunger and thirst. Of course, as soon as they started on this crusade to take over one of the cities, right? They started to get thirsty, and when obviously Muslim Saladin basically Muslim forces strategized in a way that they would die of thirst and food. They were in the brink of breaking up, I guess. I mean, you should have thought of that before you set off to do all this. Once you thought, what are we going to do if we don't have water and, any kind of supply anymore?
The Battle of Hattin is often listed among the most pivotal military victories in world history. This is because Saladin had done much more than engage and defeat the armies of the Crusader states. He had utterly destroyed them. He had broken the military power of the Latin kingdoms to the point that they could garrison castles but had no field army. He'd captured the True Cross, the most holy relic of the Crusader states, dealing a severe blow to the kingdom's morale and spurning a minor crisis of faith. And finally, he had taken hostage the King of Jerusalem, the Grand Master of the Knights Templar, and so many high-ranking nobles that once the captives' families ransomed them back, their financial ability to wage war was diminished. The lower-ranking captives, those without a noble family to bail them out, were largely sold into slavery, flooding the Damascus markets to the point that a Christian slave could be had for only 3 dinars. Knights of the military orders, the Knights Templar and Hospitaller, who were too dangerous to let live and useless as captives because they refused to be ransomed, were executed clumsily by clerics a few days after the battle. Only those few who did convert to Islam were spared.
Okay, first of all, there's so many things to, I guess, Think about here. First of all, Saladin asking for ransom for all these princes, not just to take money, to make sure that they can't wage war again because they're broke now. That is some next level strategy, man. And also, this, white Christian people into Damascus slavery market. I'm trying to picture that. How would that even fucking look? That actually happened, right? I mean, when the, height of Islamic countries, right, in 10th to 13th century. Yeah, shit like that happened a lot, which is kind of weird to picture right now. But yeah, that shit like that would happen because, they were really powerful around that time. They won wars, and after winning the wars, they sold prisoners into slavery, and just for 3 dinars. Holy shit. I mean, that's just fucked up. And, about Islam, Saladin has the true cross. Aren't people freaking out like, oh, holy shit, Islam has the, true cross of Jesus or something. But, when I'm really think about it, in the first crusade, like I said about why Islam cared about Jerusalem. Then I, really searched for it, like, because this was really confusing me. Even people said it like it's a holy city. I was still confused, like, why is it holy city? Then I realized, after searching, that, because of David, Jesus, it's a pretty significant city in Islam. I'm like, why Jesus is pretty significant in Islam? Jesus is considered a prophet in Islam. I mean, what? I didn't know that. Holy shit, that is news, because I don't think most people realize that. I mean, who's not, Muslim or Christian, I guess. Most people don't realize that, like, holy shit, Jesus is a prophet in Islam. But then it kind of makes sense to me, because isn't the God of Islam and God of Christianity same God? So basically, Islam sees Jesus as a God's prophet because it's the same God. So, when I really thought about it, just like how there are different versions of Christianity right now, right? Orthodox, Catholic, just different version and different way of seeing things. Like, this is how we see Christianity. I guess Islam is just an extreme version of that. Like, long ago, certain people broke away from Christianity and, thought of their own version, which is Islam. Because it's the same God. They also see Jesus as a, godly figure, prophet, right? So it kind of made sense to me. And then I realized, like, okay, which was that church? I'm constantly forgetting his name. Church's name from Constantinople, Istanbul, that was converted into mosque or something. Hagia, something like that, right? So why did they convert that into a mosque like that? If Jesus is the prophet in Islam, because in that church, obviously Jesus would be there, right, as the as the God to worship or something like that. So even if they had kept the church, they would still be worshipping the prophet or Islam, right? I don't know. This is seriously confusing me. I need to find a video who detailedly talks about this, about Islam, Christianity, where it all ties in, because I didn't know none of this before.
It was a monumental victory. But to make it count, Saladin knew he had to capitalize on it quickly. See, much like the Christian force that they had just defeated, Saladin's army was a coalition of semi-rivals. For over a decade, Saladin had essentially struck a bargain with the leaders of the Muslim Middle East. Unite under the leadership of Saladin, accept the primacy of the Ayyubid dynasty, and he would defeat and conquer the Crusader states. And while this victory had shut the doubters up temporarily, he still needed to take a big prize in order to make that bargain seem fully worthwhile. And there was really only one objective that would truly vindicate him: Jerusalem. Granted, it wasn't the most strategically important target. That would be Tyre, with its defensive walls and positions on the Silk Road, but Jerusalem was symbolically crucial. Considered the second holiest city in Islam, Jerusalem contained the Dome of the Rock, the site where the Prophet Muhammad was said to have ascended to heaven, standing on the rock where Abraham had prepared to sacrifice his son to God. Across from it was the Al-Aqsa Mosque, where the Prophet had led prayers. And both were on the Temple Mount, a site also sacred to Jews and Christians. But when the First Crusade took Jerusalem in 1099, they'd turned the Dome of the Rock into a Christian church, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque into a palace, and later headquarters for the Knights Templar. By Islamic standards, this had spiritually polluted both sites, particularly the Dome of the Rock, since the alterations had included religious art depicting human figures, which are forbidden in Islam. But if Saladin could reverse what the Muslim world looked on as an 88-year occupation, it would legitimize his campaign. And Jerusalem lay nearly undefended, with Guy having thrown everything into Hattin. Saladin swept into Christian-held Palestine, taking city after city. Knowing that his forces might splinter if defeated, or even pinned down in a siege, he kept the speed of the advance up by offering the Christian cities generous terms if they surrendered without a fight. All Christians had the option to stay, their properties unmolested, provided they agreed to pay a tax. And those that wanted to leave would have 40 days to settle their affairs and would not be attacked as they made their way to Tyre. When the cities agreed, and most did, he ensured the agreements were honored. That summer, Saladin captured most cities in the Latin kingdom, save Tyre, and arrived outside Jerusalem.
Let's be honest, that's better deal than most people ever get. Usually it's bloodshed like how it happened in the first crusade. Right, when the Christians took the first crusade, they massacred every single Muslim in there. So I guess Christian in Jerusalem is getting much better deal than that.
Jerusalem in late September with an army of 20,000, where they found themselves facing a pitiful defense force. The Christian leader was Balian of Ibelin, a crusader noble who'd escaped Hattin and made it to Tyre with 3,000 men, the only noble to escape with his troops. Separated from his wife and children in Jerusalem, which everyone knew was headed for a siege, he'd brokered a safe passage agreement with Saladin that allowed him to pick up his family and escort them through the Muslim lines to his home city of Tripoli. But to get that sweet deal, he'd sworn an oath not to fight Saladin or stay in Jerusalem for longer than a day. But when Balian and his 16 knights arrived in the holy city, the patriarch of Jerusalem declared him absolved of the oath and charged him with the city's defense. He accepted, even though it would mean murdering his family. Balian then sent a message to Saladin, informing him that he would be staying in Jerusalem. Saladin's reaction? He sent soldiers to
Okay, first of all, who said to
oath not to fight Saladin or stay in Jerusalem for longer than a day. But when Balian and his 16 knights arrived in the holy city, the patriarch of Jerusalem declared him absolved of the oath.
Yeah, really, he can do that? I mean, first of all, we made deal with Saladin. It's pretty shitty to break the deal like that. Of course, he's going to be pissed. Some patriarch of Jerusalem is going to say, you absolved deal, so that's it? Come on.
In Jerusalem. Saladin's reaction? He sent soldiers to escort Balian's family to safety in Tripoli. The kind of merciful act Saladin would later become famous for.
What?
But with no knights in the city but his escort.
No way! He left the kid and his wife alone. Damn, that's good.
Balian hastily knighted 60 squires and scratched together a few thousand in a defense force. Tradesmen carried spears, women manned the wall defenses. And on September 20th, Saladin attacked the Tower of David and the Damascus Gate, sending clouds of arrows into the fortifications. Again and again, they assaulted the walls with siege towers, but the defenders pushed them back, sallying out to harass the attackers. So, Saladin changed tactics, attacking the city from the east with his host of siege artillery and Greek fire. Engineers tunneled under the defensive wall, collapsing a breach that his army took by assault. Inside, Christians carried out desperate acts of penance in hopes God would save them. They cut their hair, chanted prayers while walking the city barefoot, and Balian came to Saladin to negotiate a surrender. Though Saladin was not in the mood. He was generous to cities that capitulated without a fight, but by the customs of medieval warfare, a city that resisted got sacked. Heck, the Crusaders had done as much when they took Jerusalem, slaughtering the Muslim inhabitants. So Saladin stated he would kill the defenders and sell anyone left into slavery. To which Balian made a counter-threat. Breach the city, and they would not only slaughter the city's Muslim population, but destroy every mosque and shrine. Saladin took a moment and met with his captains, weighing the risk of damage against the possibility of looking weak to his allies. He decided to make the deal. The final negotiation centered around ransoms, with the Crusaders coming up with enough money to pay ransoms for 7,000 of their citizens, with the 15,000 they could not afford sold into slavery. However, Saladin was able to free 3,000 Muslims previously kept by the Crusaders as slaves, and in the spirit of celebration, he released nearly 1,000 Christian prisoners of war. The holy city was handed over without a bloody sack.
Yeah, see, Saladin was already walking with pretty high bargaining chip, right? He had lots of things he could bargain for. Yeah, fuck it. Few Christians, I guess if you pay me enough, I'll let go of few Christians and sell everybody into slavery. Right? Even let go of certain prisoners here and there if you don't touch the city. But in the end, the Christian guy basically, rather than just saying like, holy shit, I'm outnumbered here. All right, I'm going to get screwed. Actually, he did something to save at least some people by threatening to destroy mosque and everything. At least that was a moment of genius by his part at least. Because most people wouldn't have thought of that. They're like, oh shit, we are done. let's negotiate or whatever. He tried to do that, but of course Saladin's not going to negotiate. But right, he's a reasonable man. Anybody who didn't fought back was basically had choices to stay and pay tax or just go away somewhere else. That's more than anybody else does.
Back. Muslim clerics stripped the images out of the Dome of the Rock and purified the Temple Mount with incense and rosewater. Saladin then handpicked the cleric to give the first sermon there, a man who called the recovery of Jerusalem after 88 years a gift from God, comparing Saladin's achievement to that of the Prophet Muhammad himself. His victory was complete, casting Saladin as both a victorious general and a man of integrity. In taking Jerusalem, he had killed no innocents, treated captive noble women well, and abided by his oaths. Even when advisors pushed him, he refused to attack the ransomed Christians headed to Tyre or destroy the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, reportedly built over Christ's tomb. But the backlash was already on its way. The Vatican, October 20th, 1187. The Archbishop of Tyre approaches Pope Urban III. The Pope is surprised to see him so far from the Holy Land. The Archbishop...
He's like, oh no, what did you do? What happened to Jerusalem? What the fuck, man? Man, so Saladin is also, he's staying to his word, right? And he also is smart. He's not, left and right slaughtering people. So every other Christian state gets pissed off and comes with Crusade again. I mean, he knows this is not going to stop. It's holy city. They will try to take back. But with what kind of ferocity, right? What kind of force they're going to come with. Depends on how he acts. When the word reaches lots of places, like he did take Jerusalem, yes. But he didn't kill unnecessarily left and right. He let go of the people. He was, he was man of his word. So this kind of deal, people, this kind of a nature, people actually respects. So obviously there will be blowback, but not at the level it would have been if he had just slaughtered everybody and also destroyed the Christian, places like that.
Bishop kisses the Pope's ring and tells him of the disaster of Hattin, of the capture of King Guy, and of the loss of the true cross. He says Jerusalem is vulnerable. He doesn't know it's already fallen. Pope Urban's face goes red, then purple. His guards think it's rage until the Holy Father coughs and grasps at his chest, dead of a heart attack.
What?
The last casualty of Hattin. But the word is out across Europe now. And
You kidding me? News of Jerusalem has fallen and the cross has lost to the Islamic State. That basically gave him a heart attack? Damn.
Nobles, including kings, are volunteering for a third crusade, including one that will prove himself Saladin's greatest foe, Richard the Lionheart. Legendary patron roll call.
Richard the Lionheart is coming. Alright. Damn, I've been loving this series so far. Saladin is really honorable, right? He's really good. He knows how to play people, right? What to do. He knew to by taking Jerusalem, it will solidify his power over the Islamic State. Like, holy shit, Saladin took over Jerusalem. So yeah. Right, people, that was Saladin and the Third Crusade, Siege of Jerusalem. Extra History Part 2 by the channel Extra Credits. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe. Check out the Rick Sandy, there's the link in the description. Check out the cast for basic link, and yeah, I'll see you next time.